Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm so excited because we have a special guest today. Her name is Stephanie Hoi-Nga. She is a wellness and life coach assisting overwhelmed parents. Her guidance encompasses stress relief, burnout recovery, enhanced well-being, and rediscovering the joy of both your personal and parenting experience. So please welcome Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. It's so good to be here with you.
So happy to have you. Okay, so I'm going to just talk about my first question is, how did you start parent wellness and life coaching?
Well, that's a little bit of a long story. I try to cut it as short as I can.
No problem.
Yeah, it was actually a family illness that led me to this work. Before this work, I was a journalist for almost 20 years. So about 10 years ago, I was working in Shanghai, China with my husband. I was very ambitious. We're about to move to Beijing, but before we moved, we thought we're going to go on vacation in a remote part of China. And unexpectedly, my husband had a stroke there, and he was still in his 40s at that time. That was totally a shock for both of us. That pretty much turned our life upside down. And then 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant too, with our first child and our only child now. When I eventually went back to work, I also faced the most challenging time in my professional life. So everything was happening at the same time. I was sad about my husband's illness and was grieving over some of the losses that we experienced. I was stressed, burned out, and exhausted and totally overwhelmed by everything that was going on in my life. So there was a lot of healing there with the help of a therapist. A few years after that, we were relocated to New York with my job. So that's when I started change. Something's changing inside me. My job actually had lost meaning, and I wasn't as excited as before by the work. So I knew I had to make some major changes. I did a lot of self-exploration, did different trainings to explore what could be next for me. So life coaching training turned out to be the most transformative for me, because I realized when I'm with a person, listening to their challenges and listening to their desires, aspirations they have in their life and their career. And I got to help them and witness a transformation. I love that. It's very satisfying and rewarding experience for me. So I decided to pursue a new career as a coach, but I was still working and undergoing training. That was a pretty intense time for me. What happened was eventually I was completely burned out. I started having some issues with my body. So I was so exhausted, also to a point that I thought I was going to drop that. So that was a major wake-up call for me, and I knew I needed to restart in life. So I finally took the courage to leave my 20-year career, moved to California, started my coaching business there. It's almost done. It's a bit long. So after we moved there, COVID hit, and when I was like trying to build my business and then I was homeschooling my son, right? Unfortunately, my husband got to take over that part in the end. But I was really stressed out by all the responsibilities. And that's when I realized there were also unresolved underlying issues that caused anger, resentment, frustrations. I was really easily irritated to a point that I started yelling a lot at my home. So the major light bulb moment was when I noticed when I yelled, my son would yell back. So that's pretty much mean when I was angry, he was angry. I realized my son was merely my own mirror and reflecting myself, my stress, and my pain back to me. That was a pivotal moment for me. And that's when I really decided to prioritize my own well-being and just started look into myself even more and cultivate peace and calmness inside me. And that created patience and more closer bond with my son. And that improved our relationship drastically. That was a hard lesson to learn. So because of my own experience, that I saw how adults and parents around me are stressed, and I can see how that stress and burnout affect their relationship with their children, families, and affect the overall family dynamics. So that's how I decided to focus my work to just using coaching techniques, body-based practices, techniques to help them, parents, to manage the stress better, improve their well-being. And it's not just about being calm. It's about helping them to increase energy by creating, like reconnecting joy in their lives, and to have that zest for life, and they be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And
That's an
yeah,
incredible story. Wow. Like, thank you for
thank you.
sharing it. I'm so
Thank you for giving
impressed.
me the space.
Yeah, just that coming from tragedy, your husband having a stroke and having to deal with that. And then having this like light bulb moment when you move, right? About what do you really want? How do you want your life to be? And then being aware when you're getting angry and your son's getting angry, mirroring how you are. I actually did a video on that, mirroring that our kids mirror us.
Mhm.
And you were aware of it and you knew this is not good. This is not what I want. And just taking the steps to realize that you need self-care, that you need healing, that you need to be making sure that you're okay so that you can parent better, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you summed it up really well. I'll tell you, before my husband had a stroke, I'm actually not aware about self-care, not aware about, didn't really do a lot of self-exploration, all of this. It's just because of what happened. And then started all that start my self-discovery journey. And that's how I get more in tune with myself, and to really learn how to look after myself. I just remember during like really stressful time in my life, one time I went to see my therapist, and I said to her, "Oh, I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm so drained all the time. What's going on with me?" And she said to me, "You know why? Because you gave everything to everyone. You didn't give anything to yourself." I was like, oh my God. Now looking back, it was so obvious, self-care. But at that time, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know. So she told me to, like, this is what you might want to do, is to find something that you really enjoy doing, something that you're excited about, something that you look forward to. I was like, yeah, I know what it is. I like mini adventures. So I just, after work every Friday, I just went to walk around, explored where I spent my childhood, where I went to my high school, had some street snacks, because I'm actually from Hong Kong, so that those things are big. So, oh my God, that helped me so much. And that made me realize also, we don't always have to stay in that low mood. I mean, we don't want to, but what helps you to bring you up, to lift your spirit, is to do something you're excited about, that totally change your whole, your body, brain chemistry and everything. So
I think so many moms, so many mothers, I'm one of them, can totally relate to your story because we do so much for others that we forget ourselves. Like I
yeah.
know I'm guilty of that. And I have, I, like you, have had to learn to incorporate time for myself so I can feel good. But it wasn't in the beginning. In the beginning, I did everything.
Mm.
But now I'm like, I need time for me. I need time to feel good and feel happy and connected again to myself, to my soul, to my spirit, you know? So I think what your story, my story, I think that's so many women's story. And the takeaway for women is You have to prioritize yourself. You need to have time for you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I say to people. Find time for yourself, like your life depends on it. I know we always use the analogy of filling your cup, putting your oxygen mask on. And to me, I'm a well, like I'm filled with living water. And that's my energy. That's my zest for life. That's my joy for life. And I need to fill that up. But a lot of the time we don't really think about that. We give so much to other people. And I did a mini survey of parents a few years ago, and just to understand how much time, money, and how much energy they spend on themselves. And actually almost all of them just spend all the money, all the resources, all the energy and the time to our child, to our kids, to our family. Yes, I think we all, like, also as women, I think we want to be careful, a caretaking nature. I mean, we
We're
want to take care.
we're we're natural caregivers.
Yeah, we're natural, and
It's
that's
in our
a great thing.
biology. It's in our biology. It's
Yeah,
really hard to fight it, right?
yeah.
Um,
It's I know it would, even if you think, if you talking about the word fight, and I think it's it's the fight is within ourselves, believing we need to do it all. We need to give everything. Sometimes we just get into, the thing is, we get into a routine that we don't even know that we're doing that. Even when we're tired, you remember what I said earlier, even when I was tired, I was like, why, what's going on?
yeah,
Because you give everything to everyone. So
I know.
number one.
I used to be a mother doing instead of a mother being.
Oh,
So always doing. And then I was
yeah,
like, okay, this is not good to always be doing because
yeah.
your kids need just time with you,
Oh,
not you doing something all the time, right?
yeah.
I had to learn, like, I learned from my oldest. He was the one that was like, can you just take a moment to listen to me? And then I realized
Oh,
I was on this path of my list of to do things.
yeah.
And then
Which,
I had to
yeah.
stop that because my son needed me and I wasn't giving that to him, you know?
Well, I'm so glad that he was able to articulate it himself, and
No,
he knows
he
and
was
be able
only
to say,
5.
he was only 5.
He's
It was,
super smart.
yeah, it was smart. He was able to know it, understand it, and articulate it
He
with your.
understood. He
But
understood that he
most
needed mommy
don't.
time and
Yeah,
mommy was not giving him the time because she was
yeah,
on her to-do list.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
which is really common, right? And
Yes.
as parents, we juggle with so many things. I'm not saying non-parents don't juggle, but we have so much, and that we always think we need to do it all. And then sometimes the to-do list become a priority of our
Yes.
child. So I really, when I tell people, like, it's not, sometimes we tend to seek help when we see, say, an issues with our child,
Yes.
and we seek out ways to help them, to do something to help them. And you raise a good point, and we want to do something, but really, if you take a, you slow down and quiet down and take a step back, it's not necessarily about doing, yes, some of it, but it's about the being. That's the point
Yes.
you raised. That's
Yes.
being there for them. How do you be in a way that's actually needs to be calm and peaceful and be present, and
Yes.
that you form connections. And when you have that connection, everything changes. It
Yes.
is so powerful. That's why,
It's so powerful.
yeah, my work is about the being.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, so maybe you can give us some tips on how can parents prioritize their own well-being? Like you shared that you take Fridays. Friday was your day to do adventuring, right? Because that made you feel good. That made you feel happy. But what are some other ways, like what are some other ways if parents can't take like a Friday, what other things can they do to help prioritize their well-being and
Yeah,
to cope with the stress?
yeah. Well, I'll say I don't do that kind of Friday thing anymore. That was that time.
Too
But
bad.
you know what? it really becomes a lifestyle for me. It becomes part of me. So it's not just about Friday I've carved out time. And it's very important that's initially it bring me back up. And then the recovery is more gradual. Is you have to build into your life. So you probably hear that all the time. But it's so important to find time to just sit still and do nothing and have the quiet time. Slow down is a very first step. But even hearing slowing down, I'm already hearing myself thinking, people is going to say, I can't slow down. I don't have time. It always that mindset, right? But really, we're not talking about like a couple of hours. It's only, say, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, just a quiet moment, 30 seconds, 1 minute, just that. And you will be surprised how much that can help you to calm your being.
Yes.
Even when you get yourself to move slower, speak slower, and then take that moment to stop. Like right now, that can help you calm your mind and your body. Take pauses frequently. That is the first step. And then you want to really get to know sometimes about what is causing you all these. Pretty sure everyone experiences frantic moments as parents. What's very important for me is to just slow down, for them to slow down, take the quiet moment, and then just really also be aware of what is going on in your mind, what's causing that stress. When we're stressed out, when we're burned out, there's a lot of confusing thoughts because there's so much in our mind. So I help them with the technique to just really slow down and see what you're thinking about, and just notice your physical sensations. You probably feel like you're panting, you're breathing faster, your heart's going faster. When we're stressed out, our shoulders come up like that too. You want to be aware of that. You check it out for yourself throughout the day, how much time you're actually raising your shoulders. Just be aware of all these physical sensations and also your thoughts. Then from there, we can work on what's causing your triggers. Understand your triggers. Self-understanding is a major thing that I do in my work.
Because you feel it in your body first, right? Like for me, when I'm getting upset, I can feel it in my body. I can feel like my body's getting tense.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what makes me aware that I have to not say anything. I can't give in to that. I have
yeah.
to take a moment of quietness, maybe leave the situation so I
Yeah,
can get regroup, right? Get centered again, regulated again.
exactly. That's why you want to be mindful about that's right, physical sensations come first. That's when we catch our attention. For some people, not so much. They might not be very connect with the body, but physical sensation, yes. But you have to recognize it, learn to recognize it. That's why you want to take a moment to stop and get to understand, okay, I know I'm gonna get stressed, so where is it happening, what's happening? And then you're gonna get better next time, but acknowledge it, take a moment to stop is so important. So that's why, like, I help parents with mindfulness practice, and later on is about how to even control yourself, manage your emotions during intense parenting moments. That's another step.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then what should parents understand about their own and their children's nervous system? Because we touched on that a little bit, how you need to be in touch with what's happening in your body.
The nervous system is all about helping you to feel safe, and understanding that can allow you to know when you're stressed, right? Your nervous system automatically kicked in when it feels like you're not safe, when it feels like you're under threat. And that's why sometimes when you stressed out and you yell and you don't want to, but it has the ability to hijack your mind and get you to react in such a way to help yourself. That's very important for parents to understand that. The stress and get the nervous system to react in such a way that is immediate and it's hard to control. So with that understanding, it can help. Then you realize, I need to take a step back. And in many parenting cases, you are in the power struggles and you want to win. And to know that you don't have to win now, and to understand that nervous system can calm down if you give the time and the space to calm down. So take a moment to take a pause. Maybe the short-term strategies is always about maybe like count from 1 to 10, let the nervous system to calm down, and then you go back to maybe your child. And so you're able to, hopefully by the time you calm down, you're able to speak in a more compassionate and loving manner. So knowing how the nervous system works, the more you know, the more you can do practice to help you to calm your nervous system, help you to be more mindful with your thoughts, your physical sensations. So you're aware of it. The next time you know that's going to happen, that will stop you from yelling. You catch yourself ahead of time. You're able to self-regulate before you do or say something that you regret later on.
Yes, and when we as parents learn this, when we learn, oh, okay, I'm being triggered, or I know that my body is telling me I'm tense right now, I'm about to get angry, and then we know, okay, now we have to calm ourselves down. We have to count to 10. We have to walk away. We have to breathe. We have to do things to regulate ourselves again. Once we know how to do that, then we can teach that to our children, because our children also get dysregulated. And then we'll know, okay, this is not the time to problem solve with them. This is not the time to try to make them do things. This is the time where they need us to help them to calm down and feel better.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a very important time. It's a time to connect with them emotionally.
Thank you.
Also, what's very important to understand how the nervous system works in the kid's body. And a lot of the time, tantrums and certain things that we parents or a lot of adults perceived as bad as them, they're out of control, they're being naughty, is not like that at all. It's the nervous system that to help them to regulate. The reason they sometimes scream or shout or do something that we judge as bad is because it's the body helping them to really to express themselves. And we have to understand that the brain that can control intense emotion, to control emotions, they're not fully developed until much later in their lives. So we need to understand that when they have a tantrum, when they scream and shout or maybe bite, sometimes it's a way of the body telling them they feel like they're not safe. That's why it's very important for the parents to know to take a step back. It's not the time to judge them in any ways. It's the time to take a step back, let everything out. When they're in an intense moment, they're not going to be able to listen because it's just the nervous system closed down, they shut down, so they can't hear anything.
Yes.
So with that understanding, we can be more compassionate and take a step back. One time that I learned also in a hard way, because really interestingly, one time my son also used to just yell a lot. And one time I said, it's time to do homework, and he won't. And before I would have say, no, you gotta do it now, you gotta do it now, come in now. But that time I just decided I'm not gonna say anything at all. So I just let him quiet down. When I stopped my mouth, he stopped. And I would say 2 minutes later, and he said, Mommy, in such a way, such a calm, gentle way. It was his way of telling me, I am ready to talk and I need your love and I need your care. And from his voice, and I realized, oh, I don't need to fight. Yes. It's not easy to do. It's very difficult to do. It was
It,
just in the moment I realized, okay, I gotta stop. And then he asked, that's when he invited me back to his world.
yes.
That
It's
was
amazing,
such a
right? Like that is such a moment. First
such
of all, like it takes practice
takes
to not say anything. It takes practice. You're like, okay, hold on. My child is dysregulated, upset. Don't say anything. Don't make it worse, right? And then when you do that, when you stop yourself from reacting, then when your child is ready, your child will come back to you.
oh my
This
God.
it's so powerful. It's so amazing. Like that story is so amazing.
But you know, it's very easy to fight back. I think we're talking about kids having tantrums. Adults have tantrums too.
Yes.
And we have,
Yes. Too many. Too many
I
of us have
know,
tantrums.
we have, I mean, what we have to realize is we have unrealistic expectations for a child. The brain is still
Yes.
not fully developed to be
Yes.
calm and to listen to you when they biologically not have the ability to. So by knowing the nervous system, we really want to take a step back. And also, like, there's no power struggle here. As parents, we want to be the bigger person.
Yes.
This child is still learning. We're all learning all throughout our lives ourselves.
Yes.
Have just give them space to
Mhm.
regroup too, because we need to regroup ourselves too. So we don't want to have expectations of, oh, they should be calmed down. They
Yeah.
can't. Not even we can, you know.
Yes. And it's okay for them to express emotions because that is part of our being human. Our humanness is expressing emotions and we all get angry sometimes and we all behave in ways that we don't want to.
Right?
But you know what? It's okay because it's emotions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So all emotions are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By giving them space and be okay with their emotions, they know
Yes.
that's okay for them. That creates safety. And then that's when they can really feel, oh, I am respected and I am loved.
It's so good. Thank you, Stephanie, so much. Like, wow, it's just amazing. Like, actually, talking to you calms me down because you're so calm. That's okay.
Ultimately, stress is caused by needs that are not met. So everyone has needs. Know your needs, know your kids have needs too, and find ways to meet that needs.